My name is Robert Nagy, and I will be doing a review of the 2019-2020 budget for the city of Austin, Texas. So let's look into a little bit of a history for the city. The city was incorporated in December 27th of 1939, named after Stephen F. Austin. He's the founder of Texas, known as the father of Texas. But what really got this city started was the construction of the Great Granite Dam in 1893 on the Colorado River. Now, this dam brought with it stability to the region. It brought in electricity, and it brought in manufacturers because the dam made it very appealing. And throughout time past the Great Depression, we saw an influx of innovative thinkers and high-tech companies coming to the area, which is still prevalent today, as many of these companies and these think boxes have stayed within the area of Austin. And Austin continues to grow culturally through their music, food, and art, which is very well seen through their festival known as South by Southwest. So let's look into the demographics of the city of Austin. When we look at it, their population has somewhat leveled out in the last few years. They are coming up just under 1 million in the city limits of Austin. When we look into the 5-county area that surrounds the city of Austin and kind of incorporates it, similar to how Los Angeles County and Los Angeles City varies, they come up to 2.3 million. When we look at the breakup by race, we see that it is primarily white, Anglo, but not by much. There is a large portion that is Hispanic and Latino, and just a very small portion that make up the rest of the population are other minorities. Now, when we look at the age group, we can see that Austin, Texas is a very young city. More than half the population is under the age of 34. There's a very small group, only 18% is over the age of 55. And that's a very, very small amount. So Austin is definitely a small city. So the government structure of Austin is a council-manager form of government. The elected officials, or the city council in Austin's case, are the legislative body that approves the budget and passes ordinances and regulation. The city councils will appoint a city manager who will be responsible for the day-to-day operations of the organization and for implementing the ordinances. Up until recently, the city of Austin used to be a 6th district with one at-large mayor, and as of 2015, it was changed to the system which is now known as 10-1, and where there are 10 district representing council members and one at-large mayor. So when we look at the line item general budget for the city of Austin, we can see a brief overview of the revenues. The primary source of revenues is going to come from property and city sales tax. We see in the 2017-2018 actual, the most recent one, we see that it comes in at about $467 million from property taxes and $232 million from city sales tax. The city also pulls in other funds, a good amount coming from franchise fees, as well as fines, forfeitures, penalties, but those make up a very small portion. Same with the licensing, permits, and inspections. So while these are other sources of incomes, the primary amount is coming from taxes, primarily property, followed by city sales tax. And we see in the 2017-2018 actual year, they pulled in a total of $1.029 billion of revenue from these various taxes and fees and other sources of income. Now, the department has to set aside when during the budget funds to support their departments. And when we look at breakdown of the departments, the largest one is going to be the police department. We see in the 2017-2018 actual that they had $387 million needed for that fund. And their budget was approved to have $434 million for the year 2019-2020. So we can see there's a large increase, and we're going to get more into that, why this is. But as you can tell, another major input into the amount of the funds that need to be set aside, it goes to the department requirements. So we look at fire coming in with an approved amount of $200 million. Again, emergency medical services are coming in close behind it at $93 million. And then there's various other departments such as the library, public health, parks and recreation. But when we look into the 2016, 2017, and 2017-2018 actuals, we see that there was actually an excess of funds of $583,000 and $1,354,000 in the 2016, 2017, 2018 years respectively. Obviously, the approved budget is to come out zero because every budget has to balance. So now we're going to look into a little more in depth into the Austin Police Department. So let's get a little bit of a background. The Austin Police Department gets dispatched to 330,000 calls a year, and in addition to this, they have 260,000 self-initiated calls. And self-initiated calls means things like traffic stops or pulling someone over on the side of the sidewalk. And in addition to this, there's ongoing detective work. So these detectives are working on over 32,000 property crimes and 3,800 violent crimes that they're still investigating. So the police budget is based off a program's budget. They have a few things that they have programs that they invest the money to, and we look at the performance of those programs to determine how well the department's doing. So their neighborhood policing, it's providing immediate police service, criminal investigations, and collaborative problem-solving initiatives to the community so that the community can feel safe and be safe. And what this basically means is these are the officers that are out there on the field day to day patrolling the area, responding to calls. The investigations provides an impartial and complete investigation of cases that require particularly high level of expertise. And so these are going to be, again, like the detectives who are these ongoing investigations and property crimes and violent crimes that have yet to be solved. Operations support is going to be the next biggest group. And this includes areas of what I personally do, which is 911 call taking. So these are the people who process calls for police service. They also include forensic analysis, victim services, as well as equipment and facility maintenance services to the Austin Police Department. In addition to the programs, they also have the professional standards and support services, which are much more minor when comparing it to the whole department. So when we look at the program budget for the Austin Police Department, we again see that the program of the neighborhood-based policing is the biggest chunk of the money. In the 2017-2018 actual, we see that $194 million was the expenditure for that program. And it's approved for the 2019-2020 year to be $212 million. And we'll see why that is. If we continue, again, we see the operations support increased from $53 million in the 2017-2018 to $61 million, and the investigations increasing from $54 million to $61 million in the 2019-2020 year. So there's definitely a lot more money being funded into the police services that are actually directly affecting the community. So the operations services is the people who are taking the 911 calls, who are directly talking to the citizens of Austin who are calling for help or assistance. And again, the neighborhood-based policing are the officers who are directly dealing with the citizens of Austin City. So the reason there's been an influx in the amount of money put into the police department is when we look at the key performance indicators that they've been using to base their budgets off of. So you'll see here the various different key performance indicators, when they've been tracked since, what it came up in the 2016-2017 and the 2017-2018, and what their goals are. So when we look at something like the violent crimes, the part of violent crimes per 1,000 people or 1,000 population, we see that in 2016-2017 was at 4.15, dropped down to 3.82, but they are projected to hit 4.02, so they are expecting an increase in crime. Now, although it did decrease from 2016-2017 to 2017-2018, there has been an increase in almost every other type of crime. When we look at property crime, went from 31.9 to 34.58. When we look at the rate of traffic fatalities, it went from 8.27 to 8.18, which is a drop. However, it is projected to go up into 8.56. And with this, we're also seeing increased response times from the police department, which, again, is not going to make the community feel safe. They were taking, on average, 8.18 minutes to respond to an emergency call in 2016-2017, which increased to 8.4. Their goal is to be at 7.4, which is a goal that has not been met at least since 2016-2017 year. Now, the reason that the increase in funding is because we're seeing this trend of increased violence and crime in the city. So the city is trying to be proactive about it by investing more money into the neighborhood policing and the support services. So that way we have more people to man the phones when people call for 911, so we can have a quicker response time, and we have more officers out on the field to respond to the crimes in progress. So when we look at the performance of Austin City, we see that they have not been doing well. So the department is trying to resolve that by putting in more money. So we see the goals of the department of 34.3 crimes per 1,000 population, where it currently is estimated to be at 34.58, but projects a little bit higher at 36.14. So that may not be so difficult to do. But there's definitely going to be challenges ahead when they are trying to drop these numbers. And again, these numbers for any sort of performance budget should be reasonable. They cannot expect to have 0 crimes per 1,000 population. Yeah, although it would be nice, it is not realistic. So that was just a brief overview of the program budget for the Austin City Police Department. But now I kind of want to shift focus over to something that's a little more current, and that's the economic uncertainty and really the budget uncertainty for the city of Austin. And this is due to the coronavirus or COVID-19. So South by Southwest is an event that has been going on for the past 32 years, and for the first time due to this outbreak, it is going to be canceled. And it was officially canceled on Friday, March 6th. Now, to get an understanding of how important this event is for the city, in 2019, last year, the South by Southwest Festival made an impact on the economy of $335.9 million. South by Southwest is the most profitable event for the hospitality industry in the city. And the city looks to this event to help fund the budget through various sales taxes and fees that they pull in just from this 10-day event that brings in 200,000 people into the area. So because of this virus, we're going to see a huge impact on the budget and the revenue that the city is pulling in. Now, I know that the city has been having a surplus in the 2016-2017 and the 2017-2019 year, but they may not see a surplus this year due to the corona outbreak. And the coronavirus outbreak. And this is going to leave the budget in a little bit of uncertainty. So they are no longer going to be able to really have the status quo that they've had of having the event come in, pulling in all the money and revenue from it, and then continuing on through the rest of the year. So it's going to be very interesting to see how the city will deal with it. So in conclusion, the 2019-2020 budget year for the city of Austin is promising, especially when we see such a large increase in the funding for the police department. Hopefully with this increased funding, we're going to see those performance markers being hit, such as the reduced crime rates in property and violent crimes, as well as the reduced response times to these crimes. And although the budget is promising, there still is some uncertainty due to the coronavirus. The cancellation of South by Southwest will definitely have a major impact on the revenue of the city. Hopefully Austin will be able to recoup on some of those losses. Austin is a great city though, and they will continue to prosper even past this. Their unofficial slogan for the city is "Keep Austin Weird," and I think this might just be what gets them through this. Thank you.